Shalom, shalom, it's the brother Kadash. I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kadash. I want to start that back. I want to say, Shalom, shalom, it's the brother Kadash. I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders. Peace, blessings, and honors to all the brothers in this truth. This is part 4 on what does it mean to be a prophet. What does a prophet do? Whichever way I want to name it. Part 1, we went through Ezekiel 33, 35, 37, Daniel 12, Isaiah 14, Jeremiah 50, just breaking down prophecies. And, if you did watch the parts, then pretty much what I was going to do is go through prophecies and go through the 4 major prophets and the 12 minor prophets and just go through each book and get prophecies to show how this all connects together to prove what a prophet is and what a prophet do. What inspired me to do this video, looking into some other groups that's been reaching out and looking at their leaders and seeing how they're soft touching. Psalms chapter 40 breaks it down perfect. That's a great precept, great chapter. Verse 7 to 10 breaks down why they're soft touching, because they don't want to offend nobody, why they're refraining their lips, going into Matthew chapter 24. Why they teaching the teachings that they teach, because they don't want to offend nobody. They don't want to be hated for the truth. So that inspired me to go into and say, what is a prophet? Because I was watching the man's video and I was seeing how he was talking about the healing powers of God, and he'd pull out one precept and just go to rambling. But he wasn't going into no prophecies. And that inspired me to say, man, what is a prophet? What is a true prophet? And that's what got me making this. So we already been through Hosea 5:15. I think I skipped a couple. We've been through Amos 9:11, Obadiah 1, Jonah 3. So I think I skipped Joel. So I'm going to go back. In the spirit, you start jumping into other books. The spirit starts carrying you, and you might skip one. So let me go back and get that one so it could complete the one. So it's not going to be completely in order like how I wanted it. This is Joel chapter 2, verse 27. And ye should know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else. And my people should never be ashamed. So this is prophecy, right? That's going to happen when we get in the kingdom. We're never going to be ashamed again, right? Because we're going to be made perfect. Jeremiah 31, starting at verse 31. But it says, and ye should know that I'm in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God and none else. That's a cut on everybody could be saved, because the Lord is our God and he's in the midst of Israel, right? Verse 28, and it should come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. So this is what it means to be a prophet. But the Lord could pour out his spirit on all flesh, and they could get visions. That's why you see a lot of other nations, they speak about the visions they have. Your old man should dream dreams, and your young man should see visions. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids, because see, even our servants are handmaids. And in those days will I pour out my spirit, and I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. So why is there going to be blood and fire? Because there's a judgment that's come, and that's what these guys don't want to talk about. They don't want to prophesy about the judgment. Just like when we went to the book of Jonah, Jonah was supposed to prophesy against the city of Nineveh, which is the same thing we're doing today. We're prophesying against America, which is Mystery Babylon. And we're telling you there's going to be a judgment that's going to come in. You're starting to see that judgment. Verse 31. It says, the sun should be turned into darkness and the moon of blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed, right? And it should come to pass that whosoever should call on the name of the Lord should be delivered. For in Mount Zion in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as the Lord has said, and in the remnant who the Lord should call. So that's a beautiful precept and prophecy, because first of all, it shows you whosoever should call doesn't mean anybody in the world, like these tacky Christians and Catholics like to take words like that and say, look, whosoever. But it tells you in the Mount Zion in Jerusalem, which is going back to the Israelites, shall be deliverance. But then it also goes further to tell you that this ain't for all Israel. This is for the elect, because it says in the remnant who the Lord should call. That's the elect of Israel, the ones that want to follow him, that's not soft touching, that's teaching the volume of the book, eating the whole row. Ezekiel chapter 3, Psalms chapter 40. Now, we already did Amos 9:11. I just had skipped over Joel. I'm happy I went back to it because that's a great precept. Um, Here, let's go into, we did Micah 4 and 10, so we in the book of Nahum, which I'm going to just show you how, what it means to be a prophet, an example of a prophet in the book of Nahum. Just starting with verse 1. I think I want to go to just the end of it. Chapter 1, actually, verse 14. It says, and the Lord has given a commandment concerning thee, that no more of thy name be sown out of the house of thy God. Would I cut off the graven images and the molten image? I will make thy grave, for thou art vile. Behold, upon the mountains of thy feet, of him that bringeth good tidings, that publish peace. O Judah, keep thy solemn feast. Right, which you're supposed to make sure the feast is solemn. Perform thy vows, for the wicked should no more pass through thee. He is utterly cut off. And this is, so you got to understand the scripture. Some things are twofold. Some things talk about the ancient times, and it's talking about a future prophecy at the same time. Because this is a prophecy, this is going to happen in the future too. The Lord is going to cut off the wicked now in the future. Right, and they're going to be utterly cut off, and we read about that in Obadiah chapter 1 verse 18, them being cut off. And we know who the wicked is, pursuing the Malachi chapter 1. Esau is the wicked. He's the border of wickedness. And at the same time, right, he is going to cut off the graven images and the molten images, the idolatry. So it's future prophecy too at the same time. So this is how you understand how we prophesy. What is a prophet? What does a prophet do, and how does a prophet prophesy? Now, jump into the book of Habakkuk, which is a beautiful book. I mean, of course, we're gonna go straight to chapter 2. I'm gonna try to get straight to the point. Nope, I can't do it. Verse 2, because it's so beautiful. It says, "So the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon the table, that he may runneth that readeth it." That's prophesying. You writing a vision, which is what we're doing. Right, and a lot of people is running from this truth, man. That's why Psalms chapter 40, they're soft touching, they're refraining their lips. It says, for the vision is yet for a appointed time, just like with the mark of the beast. They couldn't see it, but now they're starting to wake up and see it now, because it was set for a appointed time. It says, but the end, it shall speak. Right, it's speaking at the end now. It's getting louder and louder. It says, and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it. Because it seems like it's kind of tearing. When is the mark of the beast, the implant chip, is going to be implemented? When is it? It seems like it tarry, but wait for it. Because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. They say, give me a precept for the mark of the beast. There you go. Verse 5, yet also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire is hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, and gather into him all nations, and heap into him all people. This was prophesying of Esau, exactly what he was going to do, which is exactly what he did, which is America is a place where all nations are gathered together, which shows you that that's a wicked thing. So you think in the kingdom we're going to have all nations gathered together, joint heirs of the kingdom? That's wicked, man. Verse 6, that's why Isaiah 14 says the Lord shall place them in their own land. Verse 6, it says, shall not all these take up a proverb against him, and taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that letteth himself with thick clay. Because if you understand Daniel, the Roman Empire, that was what was iron mixed with thick clay? And that's their destruction, because you got a strong nation like America mixed with all these other weak nations, but those weak nations are going to turn against America and destroy this place and shoot nuclear missiles on it. Shall they not rise up suddenly, and shall bite thee, and shall awake that shall vex thee, and thou shall be for booties unto them? Verse 9, jump down. It says, woe to him that conveys the edict, conveys to the house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. I want to jump down because I want to get straight to the point. Verse 12, woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establish a city with iniquity. That's a prophecy, because that woe is going to come to him. And we know how America was built. It was built with blood and established with iniquity, and we know who did that. So those people that y'all trying to pass off to be Japhetic people so they could escape judgment of the Edomites, they still have a judgment coming to them, even if you say that for what they did. And that's what y'all don't teach because you don't want to offend them. Matthew chapter 24, you don't want to you don't want to offend them, and you don't want to be hated for the truth, the name of the Lord's name. Now that's why y'all don't want to call on the Hebrew name of the Lord, because y'all don't want to be hated for the day. And y'all know that the Edomites hate that name. But y'all, that's why they got us on these different hate group pages, because they hate that name. And they're getting ready to try to deliver us up to be afflicted. And y'all don't want to be a part of that. Now, this is Zephaniah chapter 1. We'll start at, we'll get straight to the point, start at verse 14. The great day of the Lord is near, hasten greatly. Even a voice of the day of the Lord, the mighty man should cry there bitterly. So the mighty man is going to be crying there bitterly. Let me make sure I've been getting everything. I got Nahum, Micah, okay. I got Habakkuk chapter 2, Zephaniah chapter 1. Great men are going to be crying bitterly. And this is why people they want a soft touch, man. Because they know who got the power, but they scared. Verse 15. But the day is the day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. And I did a video where it was talking about a mega drought, and the dude was like, the future is cloudy. I wish I would have remembered this precept, because I would have brought this one out too, but I didn't. But I did bring out a good precept in Ecclesiasticus 12. Verse 16, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fifth cities and against the high towers. And I will bring distress upon man, and they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord. And their blood should be poured out as the dust, and their flesh should be as the dung. They ain't prophesying. They ain't bringing out scriptures like this, man, because they don't want to offend nobody. They talking about the healing powers. Man, no, people blood is about to be poured out as dust. They ain't bringing out all that. Verse 18. Neither their silver nor their gold should be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land should be devoured by the fire of his jealousy. For he shall make even a speedy and riddance of all them that dwell in the land. They ain't bringing that out. I don't see them posting those precepts. I'm friends with a couple of these guys. I don't see them posting those type of precepts. They ain't coming in the volume of the book like Psalms 47, man. I don't see them posting those. Let's try to get through this so this ain't too long. This is Haggai. Here, man. Let me see where I wanted to. This Haggai chapter 2, verse 21. Let's just go into it. Speak to Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth, which we know in the past, but this is going to happen now too, because Matthew 24 says it should be earthquakes in diverse places. Verse 22, and I will overthrow the thrones of the kingdoms, which the Lord, today, he's going to overthrow the thrones of the kingdoms, like we said, Daniel 2, verse 44. And I will destroy the strengths of the kingdoms of the heathen, and will overthrow the chariots and them that ride in them. And we know it's going to be a war in the heaven where there's going to be chariots up there, which chariots just mean vehicles. So you're going to have chariots in the sense of fighter jets fighting against the Lord in heaven. That's what Revelations 12 is talking about in the war in heaven. And those that ride in them, and the horses and their riders should come down, everyone by the sword of their brother. So you could say that that's a future prophecy, because it's twofold. It is going to be a future prophecy. Let me prove it. Let me prove it. This is the book of Daniel 2, verse 44. This ain't happened yet. This is a future prophecy. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up the kingdom which should never be destroyed, and the kingdom should not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Well, we know the kingdom of the Lord has not been set up yet. So that's the future prophecy, verse 44. But it also goes right along with verse 22 in Haggai 2, when it says, and I will overthrow the thrones of these kingdoms. So that's how prophecy works. So it could be talking about an ancient time event, and at the same time talking about a future prophecy. That's a parable. That's why the scriptures call America Mystery Babylon. Is Mystery Babylon ancient Babylon? No. but it's referring to that place as Babylon. Sometimes it says spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah, spiritual Egypt. Is it referring to the ancient places? No. It's calling these newer places by those names because the same thing that they were, the wickedness they were doing in those ancient places, they're doing it in these modern places too. The destruction that came upon those ancient places, a similar destruction is going to come to these modern places. That's how the Bible works. It's called parables. People don't really understand that. That's why when we go to Romans 3, into them was the oracles of God given to the Israelites to understand these things. So we're in Zechariah. Let me bring out this one. Great precept. You can stop at Zechariah chapter 12. That goes with Obadiah chapter 1, which speaks about pretty much Israel destroying Esau, which also goes into Daniel chapter 7. The saints of the saints should take the kingdom of heaven. You could stop. You could go to Jeremiah 14, which goes into prophecy of the nukes. Which matter of fact, let's just go ahead. Get Zechariah chapter 13. Verse 7, awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, and say, the Lord of hosts, smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. And I will turn my hand upon the little ones. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, say the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off, 2/3 of the Israelites shall be cut off and die, and the third shall be left therein, 1/3. And I shall bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say it is my people, and they should say it is my and they should say the Lord is my God, which goes back to Daniel chapter 12. Those whose name is written in the book, many shall await. Some to everlasting life, some to shame and contempt. 2/3 are going to wait to that shame and contempt. And it speaks about that in Matthew chapter 5. Those who teach the commandments should be great in the kingdom of heaven. Those who teach against the commandments should be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But but it shows you that 2/3, and we read that I forget what precept that was, but it was talking about the remnant of people that should be saved. Right now, if you go to Zechariah 14 verse 12, it says that this should be the plague wherewith the Lord should smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Did the Edomites, or if you call them Japhetic people so they could escape judgment, but either way, did they fight against us? Their flesh should consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes should consume away in their holes, and their tongues should consume away in their mouth. And what does that? A nuclear weapon. It evaporates you. That's a prophecy that hasn't happened yet. That's about to come. Nuclear weapons, and that's how you know a prophet is a prophet. If the things we prophesy happens, and we know that there's going to be a war, and nuclear weapons are going to be shot out. We know that, man. You can play around with it. Last and final precept. Let's wrap this up so this ain't going to be long. We're going back into the prophecy with the nuclear weapons. Malachi chapter 4 verse 1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, all that do wickedly, shall be stumbled. In the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it should leave them neither root nor branch. And what's going to be that weapon that's going to cause for them to burn as an oven? The nuclear weapons, which we just read about in Zechariah chapter 14. So I'm gonna leave it there, and this is the end part to what does it mean to be a prophet. I went through all the different books of the prophets and gave you prophecies, and you see how they all connect. Hopefully it was edifying, how it all goes together and flows together. And hopefully we prove to you what a prophet does, which is prophesy. What does it mean to be a prophet? And gave you some prophecies, some future prophecies that has to happen. So I'm going to say salvation to the elect. Shalom.